Welcome everyone to our second webinar in the Wolfville Farmers Market Market Safe series. My name is Carolyn Aucoin. I'll be your moderator for this session. We're really excited to have you. Go to the next slide. Yeah. So a few housekeeping notes. Participants have their cameras and mics turned off, but if you do want to ask a question, I highly encourage you to do so. Anything, no stupid questions. You can do it at the bottom of your screen. There's a Q&A function right there. We might not be able to answer them right away as soon as you send it, but I promise we'll get to them once we can. We will also have some time at the end to go through questions. You can change how you view your screen and your speaker at the top of the screen there. I will introduce my lovely colleagues who will be presenting this in a minute, but you will also see that we have Chelsea Meisner and Ashley Kelly joining us. They are also colleagues here at Perennia, part of our product development and regulatory food safety team. So they're just listening in, the ones who will be presenting will be Priscilla and Alexa. Go next. Great, so here at Perennia, if you know us, great. If you don't, we support the growth, transformation, economic development in Nova Scotia's agriculture, seafood, cannabis, and food and beverage sectors. So everything from the field to the wharf to the store, we have specialists and team members who can help your food and beverage business grow. We have quite a big team, like I mentioned: agriculture services, seafood services, product development, quality and food safety, regulatory food safety. We even have a mobile bottling and filtration truck for wine and other beverages. We have a cannabis team, a lab services team. We have so many wonderful, very talented people who are very passionate about what they do. So, welcome. Like I said, this is the second webinar in our Market Safe series. Last time we talked about low risk and high risk foods and what they mean for your business. If you didn't have a chance to see that, I sent it last week, but if you need it, I'll send you the URL for that video again. I highly recommend you watch that. Today we'll be talking about labeling requirements and online sales and everything you need to know about it. So I am joined by, this is the presentation overview. I'll be presenting my colleagues here. We'll be talking about retail market and online sales. We'll be talking about approved suppliers, nutrition facts tables, the label requirements in Canada for your product, best before dates and shelf life, and then a few case studies and best practices for you. So I am joined by Alexa Jollymore. Excuse me. She's a regulatory food safety specialist here at Perennia. She helps clients like you with their product food safety reviews and regulations. She helps you understand the regulations in Nova Scotia so you can produce the safest product and best product possible. I'm also joined by Priscilla Kimley. She's a food scientist and product developer at Perennia. She provides guidance to clients on nutritional labeling and label reviews to ensure they comply with Canadian regulations. Among other things, these women work very hard and do lots and lots of stuff. So take it away.
All right, thank you. So we're gonna start off today about talking about retail markets and online sales and what the food safety regulatory components are of these. So to start off, I want to talk a little bit, well, just a summary of what we talked about last time. So specifically, I wanted to talk about product risk levels. So in Nova Scotia specifically, they categorize food into 3 different schedules. So we have Schedule A, which is considered high-risk food products. These are our potentially hazardous foods, which require temperature controls to maintain the safety of the product. So examples of these are your meats, your seafoods, dairies, ready-to-eat foods, hot dogs, those types of things. And then we have our Schedule B products, which are called our low risk products. So these are our shelf stable foods, and examples of these are jams, jellies, baked goods, pickles, preserves, those types of things. And lastly, we have our Schedule C, which are our highest risk foods, and these are illegal to be sold within the food markets in Nova Scotia. So examples of these are raw milk, low acid canned foods, unexpected meat, those types of things. So when selling within the retail markets within Nova Scotia, we did discuss last time what the requirements would be when you're selling these different scheduled products within the farmers market, but we're going to focus specifically on the retail market. So with retail, regardless of the Schedule A or Schedule B, your products must be produced in a licensed kitchen. So this is different than the farmers markets. As you guys may remember, for Schedule B products, when you're selling only within the farmers market, you are allowed to produce these in a home kitchen. However, that is not the case when you want to sell in a retail market. So I'll discuss a little bit further about what a commercial kitchen is next, but we're going to talk a little bit more about just the core requirements from the regulatory side for your product specifically when entering the retail market. So besides a commercial kitchen, your labels must display accurate nutritional labeling, such as nutrition facts table, which Priscilla is going to go into more detail about this. We also need to have a HACCP-based food safety program. So this is very important, and it requires a lot of documentation from the food business, and it kind of encompasses every step of the process from receiving to handling to shipping your product at the end. So some retailers may require a third-party certification. So something like this, one that's very common is GFSI, so Global Food Safety Initiative, and it's kind of a global standard for the entire world for food safety. So some retailers, maybe like Sobeys or Costco, those types of retailers may require this third-party certification in order for them to sell your products at their stores. You also must declare shelf life. So any products with a 90-day or more, it's mandatory. 90 days or less is voluntary. Or sorry, let me start that over. Declaring a shelf life, it is mandatory on products 90 days or less with a shelf life. Over that, it's voluntary. But again, Priscilla is going to talk more about this later on. So as part of your HACCP-based program, you must have a traceability and a recall policy within that program. So that's all, again, part of the all-encompassing that I was discussing. And lastly, you will also need a barcode. So that's a universal product code. But again, Priscilla will discuss more on the actual labeling component of the product. I also want to point out that these are the requirements for selling at retail markets within Nova Scotia. So we're only talking specifically about Nova Scotia right now, and I'll discuss further about beyond Nova Scotia. So for commercial kitchens, for all products, regardless of the schedule they fall in, like I mentioned, they must be produced in a kitchen, a facility that holds a food establishment permit and is inspected by a public health officer. So sometimes these are referred to as commercial kitchens, sometimes they're referred to as permitted food establishments. They all mean essentially the same thing. And these kitchens are inspected by the public health officers from the Department of Environment and Climate Change. So this is a provincial department. So this is where the differences start. So if it's a commercial kitchen that's inspected provincially and you're producing your food out of this kitchen, you're only allowed to sell your products within Nova Scotia, not beyond Nova Scotia, okay? So what makes a commercial kitchen a commercial kitchen? Essentially, they have met the requirements that are stated in the food safety regulations for the layout, water, sewage, equipment, building materials, those types of things that meet those regulations. So they're more than just your average kitchen at home. So once again, I would like to reiterate that all products, regardless of risk level, must be prepared in a permitted eating establishment when selling within retail. So if you are interested in selling your products outside of Nova Scotia, so say you want to go to New Brunswick or PEI or even beyond that, you need to ensure that you're meeting the federal requirements for food processing. So what this means is that you must be licensed with the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, and you must comply with the Safe Food for Canadian regulations, or for short, SFCR. So whenever you're crossing the border, you need to ensure that you're meeting the federal regulations. So this also includes processing your products out of a commercial kitchen that meets the federal standard. So they're licensed and inspected by Canadian Food Inspection Agency, or CFIA. Okay. And beyond that, all the requirements that I made in the previous slide when it comes to your labeling, your HACCP plan, and your traceability, all of those things still apply. So specifically with online sales, the same regulations apply. So within Nova Scotia, if you're selling your products again within Nova Scotia online, you have to meet the Nova Scotia requirements. If you want to sell outside of that, again, you have to make sure that you're meeting the Safe Food for Canadian regulations, so the federal side of things. So just be sure that you know where. It's a lot easier now these days with online sales for someone in Ontario to want your products, but if you're not meeting the federal requirements, you may be considered non-compliant. So again, people that purchase your product in Nova Scotia and then they were to take it home as a gift, for example, or their own personal use, this is different. It's not considered a sale beyond the border, but it's for personal use or as a gift, not as a distribution sale. Okay. And I'll let Priscilla take over.
Thank you. So before we go into labeling, I would like to talk about approved suppliers, just because at this point, it's very important that you have good suppliers to move to retail. So it is to understand where you're purchasing your ingredients and supply. And then one key aspect when selling in public market and retail is finding reliable and trustworthy suppliers. So it is your responsibility to ensure that you are sourcing your ingredients from reliable and trustworthy sources. We compile a list of resources for you, and in the list there is a fact sheet about suppliers that you can access later on. Caroline is going to send that to you. It is very well detailed about how to review your suppliers, how to select them, and how to look at the risk of having them as your supplier. You can move on to the next slide, Alexa. Okay, so why do we need suppliers and why do we need to approve them? So it is to ensure that all incoming materials, inputs, goods, products for resale and services meet specification and are safe. So when we go into retail, it is very, very important that your product is consistent, meaning you need consistent raw material and packaging to make sure that your final product is consistent to the consumers. So some examples to validate your suppliers or to find new suppliers is look at their history. So do they have any recall? Where are they currently selling? ask for the ingredient and packaging specification sheet. So that's a sheet that will tell you what the product is supposed to be, will tell you the shelf life of the ingredient. It could tell you what the color is supposed to be for that ingredient, and for packaging too. So for example, if you are selling your product in a pouch or in a box, make sure that you have a specification that says that it is safe to have food in it. And then also make sure that the sheet is up to date. So typically we don't want, or if the inspector comes, they don't want documentation from like 5 years ago. So you want to make sure that you have updated ingredient and packaging specification at least 3 years old. Oh, yeah. And then do they have any certification? So food safety program or food quality program in place. So that is very, very important, especially when we talk about food. Are their product consistently the same? So have you tested and verified the ingredients and packaging? So that's a good one to think about and to test. And then also we are experiencing a lot of supply chain issues nowadays. So it's good to have a backup supplier too, and not just go with one supplier, just to make sure that you can keep up with the retail market. Okay, next one. Okay, so a lot of questions that I have or I receive is, when do I need a nutrition facts table for my product? So most prepackaged foods sold in Canada require a label to be applied or attached to it. Additionally, there's non-prepackaged foods that require a label when sold in Canada. And there are some exemptions, like one-bite confections that are sold individually, fresh fruits or fresh vegetables, packaged in a wrapper or confining bands, fresh fruit or vegetable that are packed in a protective wrapper or a protective bag. And then also, there are some non-prepackaged food that are required to have a label. So those would be like meat and meat byproduct, poultry and poultry byproduct that are barbecued, roasted, or broiled on the retail premises. So one thing that is a bit confusing to people, but I want to mention, is the definition of sold. So both the FDA and the SFCA define sold, to be distributed whether or not the distribution is made for consideration. So this means that a sale is considered to have taken place whether or not money or overcompensation is exchanged. So even though you're like giving something for free, if it's prepackaged, it still is defined as being sold in Canada. Okay, next one. Okay, so I just want to touch base on the Canadian food labeling regulation. So there are two bodies. The first one is Health Canada. So they developed regulations and set safety standards for food, drugs, and other products under the Food and Drugs Act. And then they are also the one that set food safety standards and policies for all food in Canada, including imports and exports. And then the CFI are the one that enforces the food safety and labeling regulation. And also they enforces the food safety standard and policies under the Safe Food for Canadian Act. So if you have a CFI inspector coming to your place of business to do some inspections, that means that either your product, they're probably just doing a random check, or that your product is not compliant, meaning that they are enforcing something. Okay, next one. Okay, so in Canada, there's core labeling requirements that has to be on your label. So that is English and French, the common name, the list of ingredients and the allergens, the net quantity, the nutrition labeling, the country of origin, the date markings and storage instructions, name and principal place of business, and the front of package nutrition symbols. So all of these co-labeling requirements, they have to be on your label, but also they have to be on a specific location and they have to be a specific format on your label. Okay. So this is an example of how the list of ingredients and allergens are supposed to be on your label. So as you can see right off the bat, it's black font with a white or neutral background, and also it's boxed in. And also how it's being declared right now, it's from the most to the least from ingredient wise, and then grouping of the sugars. So that's just an example just to show you how the ingredient listing is supposed to be in Canada. Then the next slide. And then this is the nutrition facts table. So this is an example of what the nutrition facts table is supposed to be. So that's just a standard bilingual format. There are different formats available depending on what your product is. It could be a simplified format. It could be this kind of format with additional nutrients with it, but this is just the standard bilingual formatting. And as you can tell, the serving size has to be on the nutrition facts table, and it is regulated. So you could have a product that you think that the serving size could be 2 cups, but in Canada, the serving size, depending on what your product is regulated. For example, yogurt, as you can see on the left-hand side, it says nutrition facts per 3/4 cup, but it's not really 3/4 cup. This is just an example to show you that when the customer compares yogurt A to yogurt B, they can compare them and then make their final decision on which one they want to buy. Yeah. Move on to the next one. So, and then like I said, the front of package nutrition symbols. So probably you already see it on the store. This is a new-ish thing, but some people are waiting until the end of the year to add them to their packaging. But pretty much if your product is high in saturated fat, sugar, and sodium, this is a statement that has to be put in the front of your labeling. Okay, next one. Okay, so on your labels, some people like to have some claims and statement to attract more people to buy their product. Any claims and statement made needs to be truthful and not misleading. So the different types of claim you could have is a nutrient function claims. For example, protein helps build and repair body tissues. So if you do have that claim, you will need to be able to prove that protein actually do help repair build and repair body tissues. So it could be from literature or it could be from actual testing. You could have nutrient content claims. So if you're making a claim such as rich in omega-3 or source of omega-3 and 6, you will have to meet the requirements to be able to use the claim, but also your nutrition facts table should have omega-3 in it too to show what the amount is. Product claims, so made with natural ingredients, just making sure that you are actually making your product with natural ingredients. And then this is a very hot topic right now, is the origin claims, product of Canada versus made in Canada. So I don't know if you guys know, but those two claims have different requirements. So product of Canada, 98% of your ingredients need to be from Canada. And then if you have 58% of your ingredients from Canada, you can use the term made in Canada, but it has to be followed by made in Canada from domestic and imported ingredients. Also, you can have negative claims where you are saying you don't have any preservatives added to your product or you don't have any artificial color and flavor. You just have to make sure that there's actually no preservatives or artificial flavor and color in your product. And those are the type of claims that you can have. And then if you want to have any health claim, so those falls under natural health product, and it is a subset of drugs and regulated under the natural health product regulation. So it's a different category altogether. And there is application you have to do to be able to use those claims. Okay, next slide. Okay, so what is the definition of durable life? So probably you heard Alexa mention shelf life, and you're wondering like what it is and you don't know where to start. The definition of durable life is the period starting on the day a food is packaged for retail sale, that the food will retain its normal wholesomeness, palatability, and nutritional value when it is stored under conditions appropriate for that product. So probably you heard the term best before date. So this is required on prepackaged foods with a durable life of 90 days or less, with the following exceptions. So fresh fruits and vegetables, restaurant or airline meals or snack, servings in vending machines or mobile canteen, and donuts. So the best before dates only apply to unopened products. Okay, next slide. So then you probably are wondering, so how do I choose a best before date or know when the product is not good for consumption anymore? So it really depends. It depends on the level of microorganism present in your product and the sensory or biochemical deterioration of the food. So it could be the shelf life is the shorter of either the microbiological or the quality limit. So I took some pictures and I showed it to you guys. So on the left, it's a bread that's moldy. So definitely the shelf life would be from the microorganism level present. The middle picture is freezer burnt frozen vegetables. So that will be the shelf life is led by the quality of the product. And then on the right-hand side, that's salt lumps. So probably you're thinking that salt should have a longer shelf life, but some suppliers put a shelf life of 6 months on their salt because they have a standard that the salt, when it starts clumping, it's not good anymore. So that's why they have a quality limit of 6 month shelf life. So they would say best before date is the 6 months period. Okay, next slide. Okay, so now we'll look at some examples of labels. I just chose US versus Canada, but every country has their own regulations on what the nutrition facts should be and how they should be put on their label and the formatting and everything else. So on the left-hand side, you can see that we have nutrition facts table for chips. So they are the exact same chips. They are known globally. And in Canada, as you can see, we have to have the serving size per 50 grams for all chips so that it's easier for the consumer to be able to compare different types of chips and make the best decision for them. But in the States, they have a different serving size, and also they have a different formatting of what needs to be on their nutrition facts table. And also they have different nutrients that they have to declare. So for example, as you can tell, they are declaring vitamin D. We're not declaring vitamin D. They're declaring vitamin C, and we're not doing that. So every country, like I said, has their own regulations. And if we are selling in Canada, we need to follow the Canadian regulations. And then on the right-hand side, you have, I just took a snippet of a very famous drink, and it's known globally again. So, but in the States, they have different ingredient declaration than Canada. So just off the bat, you can tell that in the States, they're using high fructose corn syrup, but in Canada, we are using sugar, fructose, glucose, fructose. And also, the states have different allowed additives that they can have in their product that Canadian cannot, and vice versa. So there are some ingredients that in the States they can use, but in Canada we cannot use. And also some coloring that we can use, but they cannot use. So this is one of the biggest difference is that we have to have both English and French, and also the formatting is different, and also the declaration is slightly different too. So yeah, next slide, please. Okay, so now we'll talk about best practice for compliance. So the best practice is to understand target market regulations thoroughly. Consult with a regulatory consultant. So it could be us, it could be another body. They can offer insight into complex regulations and common pitfalls. Maintain accurate and updated documentations. So that would be your supplier approval program, making sure that your ingredient specification and packaging specification sheets are updated. Use clear and compliant labeling formats. Focus on allergen and additive transparency. Stay informed of regulatory changes and conduct label pre-approvals before printing. This one is very important because if you do not pre-approve or pre-review your labels before printing it 10,000 times, and if something is wrong and CFIE catches you, that could mean that you would have to either recall all of your labels, or you would have to temporarily fix them by applying another label on top of the non-compliant label, which in those two cases are very time consuming and are costly. So it's good to make sure that your labels are reviewed for compliance before you start printing it multiple thousand times. Yes, okay, next one. Okay, you can take over, Caroline.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I want to mention again that there's a Q&A function at the bottom of the your screen. I do have a question, if you don't mind, before we move on to the more housekeeping stuff. When we talk about selling online, what does that mean? Like Facebook Marketplace, does that count? Or if you're selling like pre-orders for a pickup or something like that? Or is it really shipping? Or how do you define that, Alexa?
Yes, so it can be Facebook Marketplace. It can really be any of those. It's again, just be aware of like who you're selling it to. So if you're selling on Facebook Marketplace directly to a consumer, you might not have to meet the retail requirements. You possibly are only need to comply with the public market or the farmers market requirements. So there, you just need to be very cautious as to who your consumer is, where they're from, to make sure that you're in compliance with the specific regulations for that situation.
Okay. So specifically in this case, you may not know the answer, but the Wolfville Farmers Market has like a pickup option to go online, I do believe. And I'm sure some of our participants do participate in that. I think it's great. It's really cool. But because it is directly to consumer, they wouldn't necessarily have to produce it in a commercial kitchen, if I understand correctly.
Yes, I would say I would need to know more about the situation to
Yeah.
really like give a specific answer.
Okay.
But if it's directly to consumer from the Wolfville Farmers Market that's within Nova Scotia, I would say that the public market regulations would probably fit that situation.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's really helpful. So if anybody else has any other questions about this or anything else we've covered maybe in the last webinar or in this webinar, please feel free to drop them in the Q&A. If not, I'll talk a little bit about Perennia and the kind of thing we can help with. So as we mentioned earlier, we have specialists in agriculture, seafood, food and beverage, product, even alcoholic beverages, cannabis, all of those things. So our team can help you with idea validation. So if you have an idea for a product and you're not sure if it'll work, we can help you figure that out. Our team at the Innovation Center helps with, like I said, product development. So I have an idea for a product. I don't know how to scale up my recipe, or I don't know what ingredients to use, or we can help you with all of that. Our quality and food safety team, they help with assessments. So say you want a HACCP-based food safety program, they can help you get there. Plan development coaching, lots of training as well. We do lots of public and private training. And then so commercialization. So like I said, scale up, pilot, like prototyping, all those things. And then I'll show you a little bit more, some more specific things in the next slides. So this is just, I'm not going to go through all of these, but our regulatory food safety team, this is what they help with. So they will help you understand the requirements in Nova Scotia and if necessary outside of Nova Scotia for commercial kitchens, which is something that we've talked about today. Any low risk, high risk foods, they help you understand all those requirements, the regulations, as well as developing some environmental monitoring programs. So literally testing for pathogens, they help with that. Next one, our product development team, so of which Priscilla is part of, they help develop products. So a lot of the products that you would have seen on your shelf, on the shelves at stores, they have helped develop. I won't mention names, but there's lots out there. So the nutrition facts tables, the best before date, all those things they can help with. And then we have our quality and food safety team. So like I mentioned, assessments, training, coaching, so development of food safety programs, help with non-compliances and recalls and traceability and all those things. There's lots and lots and lots that our team can help with. Excuse me. All right, so I want to mention 2 programs currently that I think would interest you folks. So the Food Ventures program is not open currently, but it will be open very soon. And that helps businesses like you, smaller businesses as well, develop products and access training and food safety services and at a cost shared level. So that is coming out soon. We also offer free technical advice as part of this program. So if you have any question about anything that you heard today, or you have a question specific to your product and you didn't hear it answered here, but you think we can help, let us know. We can answer your questions probably for free. And our team would be really happy to help you with that. So I'm going to put that in the chat right here. There's a form to fill out. If you have a question, you need technical advice, technical support, you can submit it right there and our team will help you. Now, the next program I'm going to talk about is open as of Friday, and you can submit applications starting May 1st, so this week. This is the Local Supplier Food Safety Support Pilot Program. So this program is brand new. If you heard anything that we were talking about and you said, I just sell my products in a farmer's market, but eventually I would like to get to, say, Walmart or Costco or Sobeys or anything bigger like a retail, this program can help you get the support for a food safety program development. So that is, like Alexa mentioned earlier, a HACCP-based program. So there's a lot that goes into it. It is not just your food handler's course. There's lots and lots and lots, and it can be quite overwhelming, but our team can help you. So if that interests you at all, check out this program. I'm going to put it in the chat. We also have some other programs coming out quite soon. I can't announce anything yet, but keep an eye out on our social media and on your emails, because there's some really great programs and our team is working really hard to make it as achievable as possible for your business to grow. So if anybody has any other questions, I think that's all for us here. If you think of a question after you close this webinar and you were like, oh, darn, I forgot to ask, don't worry about it. Send us an email. I am going to send resources, anything that has been mentioned in this, and I will send them for the last webinar as well. Excuse me. I will also send the URL to the last webinar for you to watch if you didn't get a chance to. And once this one is edited and ready, I will send this one as well. So all the resources are there. They're free. You don't have to pay a cent for them. And if you have any questions, please let us know. We will be happy to help you. So thank you very much, Priscilla and Alexa. I really appreciate learning from you all the time. And thank you everyone for attending. It is always great to be able to learn together. I hope everyone has a great day.